Welcome to the Tech Lead Coaching Network podcast. This is episode number 24. My name is Michael Rice, and the Tech Lead Coaching Network is an informal, community-based, open-source network of tech leads where we support each other through in-person workshops and peer-to-peer, one-to-one tech lead coaching, all free and volunteer-based. We hope you'll join us. We focus on the tech lead role, that first-level leadership position, which you find a lot in software engineering, but you could also find in related fields like systems engineering, security, QA, data science, and etc. We do it because it's a hard role for most people. You're making a transition from an individual contributor, technical person, to having to navigate all these complicated, unpredictable humans and yet still be really technical. Worse, you probably aren't getting enough support or training in the role, so we created this community to support each other. You could be listening because you want to be a tech lead, you are a tech lead, or you manage tech leads, to name just 3 possible reasons. We do these podcasts with the hope that it will be a useful thing for community members to stay involved and feel connected, but also for a little marketing and to share some ideas broadly. Today is Thursday, March 21, 2019, almost a Friday. Today we're going to talk about why defining a clear vision is so important. Let's imagine a pretty typical scenario probably taking place all over the world right now. A technical lead just approached a software engineer and said something like, "Hey, do you think you can develop something for us?" Maybe it's something kind of straightforward, like adding a download button for a video streaming app. I had to go with this example since I lived and worked in Hollywood for a minute there. The download button needs to trigger a metric tracking service like an analytics tool and also prevent unauthenticated users from getting the download. You need it by next Friday, and it's Tuesday. Not complicated. The software engineer takes the story off the Kanban board or the Trello board or the Jira ticket or whatever you're using and starts working. Of course, there are a million things that can go right and wrong with this. The metric tracking analytics tool could be harder to integrate with than we thought. The engineer may ask you a bunch of questions about it, or maybe not, and just struggles with the fact that the analytics tool doesn't support, say, the tagging that you need. The engineer may stall out because he or she doesn't know who to talk to about getting the tags added. Maybe we can authenticate the button, but the download itself isn't protected. Maybe the engineer spends a bunch of time investigating methods for locking down ways to prevent that. Or maybe the CDN is too slow and it causes problems, so the engineer starts looking for ways to prefetch or cache on the app side so it demos better. Maybe weeks and millions of questions come up, and you completely blow your deadline, but you're not sure how to explain why. Now, you could say all this could have been solved with more details and more planning and more requirements. We could have got all the analytics details in place before we started. We could have figured out how to do the CDN and what its SLA is, and etc. Of course we can. In hindsight, everything could have been solved if we could have seen perfectly into the future. But going through all the planning and designing takes a lot of energy and time and is invariably wrong in some aspects. It's why we don't do waterfall anymore. So let's rewind a second and go back to that first conversation. Instead of trying to see perfectly into the future, what if instead, as the tech lead, you said something like this? You said, "Hey, we've got an internal demo coming up at the end of next week. We need to show some execs that we can support downloads with a simple button. The execs are going to care about whether we can track how many people start the download, and we'll also be worried about whether people can pirate the video. Nothing has to be perfect. They just need to see the button and see the download start. Can you build it and work with Craig on the analytics team and Sophia on the CDN team to get something workable by next Friday? Remember, this is just to prove what's possible, not to nail down every detail. As soon as something looks hard, come to me and we'll solve it together. This should be pretty easy and pretty fun, so the minute it's not, I want to know, okay?" This is the vision framing capability I tend to hammer on. Remember the Tech Lead Guide, from the Tech Lead Guide. You know you're progressing when, 1, you start actually defining visions, because many don't, even at senior levels. And when you start defining clear ones, then 2, you start making them compelling for the person or the team. And then 3, when they're clear and compelling, you're repeating them often. You may or may not agree that the vision I just gave you is clear and compelling. Whether it is or isn't doesn't depend on what you think or what I think of it. It depends on whether it's clear or compelling to the person who heard it. I don't want to go into the mechanics of framing visions right now, however. What I really want to do is talk to you in today's episode about why you should do this. What are the advantages of doing this? So let's explore that. First, defining clear and compelling visions that you articulate often gives you some practice leading from the front and putting yourself out there. By doing something like the example I gave you, it's easy for people to start criticizing the approach or pushing back. The less information you give, the more conservative you are, and the less risks you're taking. But in the example I gave you, someone might push back and say, I don't know, this is just the first pushback I could think of. You could say, the engineer might say, I'm sick of writing all these throwaway examples for the execs. When are you going to push back as a tech lead and tell them we need to stop wasting time? Or some other kind of blowback from the engineer. So stand by your decisions and explain them. Refine where you need to, but framing visions and articulating them will give you great practice leading from the front. Second, it saves time because the team knows how to fill in the blanks on tasks. If the team knows not only what to build, but why to do it and how to approach it, they can solve many of their own questions on their own. And for any reasonably sized task, there are going to be a million little choices and decisions to be made. As a tech lead, you can only scale yourself so much. Giving the team the policy behind what you're trying to do, the vision, then they can fill in many of the blanks themselves. You may not love every choice they made, but at least you're going to make progress and get momentum, and then you can pick or choose what adjustments you want to make, if any. Momentum is critical. Third, having a clear and compelling vision reduces anxiety. This works out for both senior and junior team members. For senior technologists, they tend to value autonomy and creativity, so giving them a vision of where you want to go without a lot of technical direction is likely what they want. For junior developers, same result. It also reduces their stress because they don't have to come to you with every little question. Junior folks can sometimes feel anxious when they ask questions because it makes them feel like they don't know what they're doing. Having a clear and compelling vision helps them tremendously and also sets them up to start making their own decisions. Finally, having a clear and compelling vision makes it fun to get out of bed and go to work. Work is always tedious, sooner or later. If you're just laying 1,000 bricks on a foundation, it's tedious. If you're reminded that you're building a school for generations to come and contributing to the future of the community, people find meaning in the tedious. So in summary, clear and compelling visions give you practice leading from the front, they save engineering time, they reduce team anxiety, and they make it fun to come to work. So start practicing clear and compelling visions and repeat them often. We're on a mission, Tech Leads. Our mission is to increase the happiness and effectiveness of our community members. So no matter where you are in your Tech Lead journey, I want you to consider joining us. You can join online at techleadcoaching.com. As I said, it's free, and you can join at the lurker level if you just want to stay in touch, get weekly email updates, and other interesting tidbits. There are other levels too, like the coach and Tech Lead levels when you're ready. So join however you're comfortable, but I do hope you'll join us. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you found today's episode helpful, or at least interesting. Glad you're on the journey with us, Tech Leads. Subscribe to this podcast. Give us an awesome rating if you can, so we can reach more people, and have an amazing Thursday.